Hi, and welcome everybody to Beyond Pay's Setting You Up for Success with Performance Management. My name is Misty Corns, and I have Audrey Meza on with us. Audrey, do you want to say hi?
Hello.
Hi. So Audrey's actually going to be doing most of the legwork today, and so she'll actually be getting into the system and talking for in just a few minutes. But before I turn things over to her, just a couple things I want to talk about before I do turn it over to her. I think we're going to give you some extra time back to your day. We're expecting to finish around the 20-minute mark. We may go to 30 depending on questions. But with that being said, you guys, there's no reason for us to make this a boring webinar. We want, Audrey and I talk all the time throughout the day. We want your interaction for this webinar. We want you to ask questions. So don't be afraid to type those into the question window. Within the webinar. We'll make sure we address those questions. We may address them throughout the webinar, or we may wait until the very end of the webinar. And just real quick, as HR professionals, we all know that performance reviews and compensation can be time consuming, and it's a lot of times manual, and sometimes it's not even a true reflection of the employee's performance. Good performance and bad performance, when those are not, either one of those are not addressed properly, it really does wreak havoc on a department's morale, on a company's morale, and also a company's bottom line. So today, Audrey's actually going to spend some time going through our Workforce Ready system and showing you how you can better handle performance reviews by really putting a lot in the employees' fingertips, employees and managers, empowering them to take a more active role in performance, their own performance, as well as managing an employee's performance. With all of this, with taking this kind of approach, you're going to eliminate a lot of those manual processes that managers are currently having to do, as well as you as HR professionals. And in turn, what you're going to get is improved morale. You're going to get better productivity, and even improve your company's bottom line. So, so if there's any questions, go ahead and start typing those in as you have them. But Audrey, are you ready to get started?
Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead.
Thanks, Misty. So just a couple of objectives I want to point out before I jump into the system. Of course, you guys are probably aware this is going to be all online. It's all an automated process through the employee's perspective, through the manager's perspective, through the HR admin's perspective. So each step is going to be automated, and in turn, everything is going to be housed and stored in the system. Because it's kept in the system, you're allowing employees to take a look at their reviews, take a look at goals throughout the year, which does help prevent surprises because, a lot of times nowadays people still doing paper copies, they write their goals down on paper, they set them aside and they completely forget until their performance review comes around. So having this, all online, this automated process, it helps kind of prevent those unexpected shocks when they're doing their review of, whoops, I completely forgot about that. And, it really does increase productivity because employees can see their goals, personal, company, etc., throughout the year and kind of see how they're being, how they're tracking them, how they're doing on them, because they have access to them in the system. So we're going to take a look at 3 different views today. We're going to look at an employee view. So, as an employee going in, reviewing themselves, then of course we're going to step into the manager view. The managers then going in and reviewing their employees, and then the HR, or payroll admin's view, who's, potentially in this case going to be the finalizer of their performance, of the performance review. So let's go ahead and jump into the system. We're going to log in first as the employee. So what's nice, again, because we're using the system and automating this process, you can trigger announcements to employees. So I can have a little announcement on the home screen for an employee to give them the time frame of when the performance reviews are due, and it's going to trigger a to-do or a task for that employee. So as an employee, I get my reminder, I then go to my to-dos, and I have my performance review waiting for me to go through and complete. So they're going to get some basic instructions, they're going to see some standard information on the review, how things are going to be weighted, their values, their competencies, their goals if they have any. And then they would, of course, go through and do the entry of their review. So we'll add some ratings for Michael. And this is him going through and doing the review himself. And then once he feels comfortable and confident with his ratings, with his comments, he would then save the review and submit it to his manager so that his manager can then go through and review him as well. So he's added all of his ratings, he's added some comments to each one of the ratings, and of course these would have a little bit more descriptive information that he's put in here, maybe why he feels like he's given the rating he should be given. He can see a quick little summary of the review. You'll notice here, just as an update, whoops, I didn't click save. So that's another little feature, again, of having it online. The employee has to make sure they're saving their information. And once they've saved it, they can then submit it to their manager. So this is all built with a workflow process, we call it. The employees completed their step, and now we're going to push it over to the manager for the manager to then go through and review their employee. So let's log in as Michael's manager, which in this case is going to be Gary. Gary's going to have pretty much the same exact view of the review that Michael does. So he also has a little reminder here stating that the performance reviews are due. He's going to get a little to-do, letting him know that the performance review is ready to be started. So he gets the same little to-do view that Michael has. The difference with his is that because he's the next level, as he goes through and he looks at this information and he goes to the entry to start giving his ratings, he can see right here what Michael has rated himself. He can see comments that Michael has given himself. So just as Michael did, he would go through and he would give his ratings as well. And it's all going to be housed in the same performance review. So as Gary, goes through and completes his review for Michael, he puts in his ratings. He's going to do the same thing. He's going to save, and then he's going to submit ultimately to the HR manager or payroll admin, whoever the final reviewer is. So if he goes to the summary tab, just a really quick glance or overview of the review, he can see what Michael has rated himself. He can see what he's rated Michael. He can see who the final reviewer is. And ultimately, once this review is complete, he would be able to see Kathy's ratings as well. So we'll go ahead and submit this review. One thing I want to point out as a manager is, because they have several employees under them, they're going to potentially be going through and doing several reviews. They have a really handy way to view their employees and get an overview of their performance reviews. We have this great talent tab that has some chart information for their particular employees. So Gary, as a manager, can see, the company goals, his employees' personal goals. He can get an idea of what's happening with those goals. He can see a breakdown of those goals by employee. So if he wants to get a little bit more granular, he's got some of that data as well. And he can see the overall scores by employee. And what's great about this little chart here is he can see, he's got 4 employees' reviews that have been completed, and he's got 2 more that he needs to do. So he needs to make sure to go through and do those before the review period is over. There's some great data here, just right on the dashboard, right on this first screen as he logs in that he can take a look at. So we've gone through Michael's process. We've gone through Michael's manager, Gary's process. Now we're going to jump in as Kathy. Kathy is the HR administrator. Now she's the final reviewer of the review. She's going to make the finalization of it. If you're making any, pay change requests or anything like that, Kathy's going to be approving those. So as a manager, you can request some pay changes, increases, bonuses for your employees. So just like Michael, just like Gary, we're getting a to-do. Exact same view for Kathy as well. She's got the same review button, same screen, same tab, same everything. What's really nice about having the same view across the board is if your employee is struggling or manager is struggling, you can jump in here. You're going to see the exact same thing they're going to see, and it really kind of helps you to be able to give guidance or steps to your employees or your managers on how to complete the review. So Kathy would do the same thing. Because Kathy is the highest level, she's going to see all individuals who have done ratings on this review. So we've got Michael's ratings, we've got Gary's ratings. So before she even puts anything in here, she can see what they've done. And what's also really nice is, again, because everything's integrated, everything's encompassed into the one system, we have this really handy perspectives tab where Kathy can see, just overall perspectives on this particular employee. How happy are they? We're doing a performance review right now. What has their overall performance been? How reliable are they? Is there any risk involved? These are all things that can be built so that you can get an encompassing view of your employee to see how they're doing. If you notice that the employee is not very happy, maybe they're not very reliable, that might kind of help give you a basis on how you want to do their performance. So again, kind of reiterating what we've taken a look at so far, all automated, all housed in the system. Kathy would go through and complete her ratings. Once this performance review is done, it's finalized. If I had any pay change updates, it's going to update the employee. And what's really handy with our performance management is it links to our compensation module. So, companies that every year put together a budget on how much they want to give an employee, or their employees across the board for their performance, maybe they're only allocating 20% or something, that's all going to link together. So I'll show you just really quickly as Kathy. She also has a compensation tab. She can get a quick idea of some compensation cycles that she has open right now. So she has some current compensation cycles open. So as I mentioned, performance reviews do link with our compensation cycle. So in this scenario, we complete Michael's performance review. We would be able to see information in here. We would be able to see how the employees are doing, how Michael's review is doing. We have a couple that have already been completed. We can see, these employees, these 3 employees have reviews that have already been completed. We can see their review ratings here. We can even get a quick glance at the performance review if we wanted. If we wanted to see how they actually did, this is our performance review here. So we can get that information in their performance review. And that links all together in the system. So it's a really great benefit to use the system with performance management, and if you're using the comp module as well, having the two linked together.
All right, Audrey, just really quick, I have a couple questions that have came in, so let's get to these really quick. So the first one is, so as a manager, what would be the process of going through a pay raise if I'm not using the compensation module?
It's a good question. As you probably noticed in the review, we'll go ahead and pull it up really quick as Kathy. It is the same process as a manager, but if you're not using the compensation module, essentially what you would have on the summary tab is you would have a section here at the bottom for base compensation and or bonus, and you would see the employee's base compensation. So let's say they make $10 an hour right now, and the managers can type in a box. It's just an open text field that they can type in the raise, and as the final reviewer goes through and finalizes the review, if the manager has proposed an increase, it would update automatically for you. So it's just not showing up in this case because we have the compensation module open, but it would just be a little text box here on the summary tab that they could propose that pay change.
Okay, great. All right. And then the next question is, what if you want an employee to make a change after they've already submitted their performance review?
Oh, another good question. As you probably noticed as the employee, when I submitted the review, it did lock me out. So it did prevent me from making any further changes. It's actually really simple. We would just add a reject option. So very similar if you're using our timesheet or time and labor module, we would just have reject. So the manager would have a review option here and a reject option here. And if they click the reject button, they can add some comments and let the employee know, hey, please elaborate a little bit on this competency, why did you rate yourself so low or so high, etc. And by clicking the reject, it opens it back up to the employee and notifies the employee that they need to go in and make some changes to that area.
Okay. All right, great. I don't have any other questions just yet, but just a couple things I want to just add to on top of what Audrey's already covered is, part of performance reviews and making them successful is reviewing the employee and setting goals throughout the year. And, with the Workforce Ready system, you're able to add those goals to an employee and then track the progress of those goals being completed. And then those goals will show up on those performance reviews. And so basically that enables you to really keep track of what is happening with the employee throughout the year. And then you put into play the perspectives that Audrey was showing you, which gives you an overall score based on activity that's occurred within the system. Maybe they've been absent a bunch. That generally might mean that they're not very reliable. So we can do things like that with perspectives. And then you add in the fact that you're given that transparency to your employees. They're able to see what's happening if you allow them to with their performance reviews and their goals and the progress of those. And then at the end of the day, if you're using the compensation module, being able to see all of that tied together, with pay grades and various things like that, as well as your budget, really gives you a fully rounded performance management tool to do all of those things I explained in the beginning, improve that employee morale, increase that productivity, by those using those goals, and in turn, definitely increase and improve your company's bottom line through turnover. You're not losing the good employees. So I don't have any other questions that came in right now. We are recording this. We will provide a recording to everybody that has registered for the webinar today. If you do have questions, definitely reach out to support@beyondpay.com or sales@beyondpay.com, and we'll definitely be able to help you. Thank you very much, and you guys have a great day, and hope to see you on the next webinar. Thank you, Audrey.